Welcome to the Psychic Pinup Podcast, the anything and everything spiritual podcast where we dive into hot topics, readings, viewer questions, and more. Thank you for tuning in. Now, sit back, relax, and let's dive right into it.
Welcome back to the Anything and Everything Spiritual Podcast. My name is Linda. I'm also known as the Psychic Pinup. How are we doing? I need to talk about something that has been sitting with me for a while. And that is the word manifestation. The word is everywhere. On TikTok, in podcasts, in your group chats. If someone gets a promotion, they will say, I manifested it. If someone meets their person, they'll say, I put it on my vision board and it came. Someone buys a house, I aligned with my higher self and the universe provided. And I'm sitting here thinking, but did you? Now, before anyone closes out on this, I'm not here to tear anyone down. I'm not being anti-spiritual. I'm not anti-hope. I believe deeply in something greater than ourselves. But I also believe we do ourselves a disservice when we take something as nuanced as intuition, preparation, and spiritual discernment and flatten it all down to, I manifested it. So today, let's actually talk about this. What manifestation culture gets wrong, what it accidentally gets right, and what I think is really going on when people experience those the universe delivered moments. So let's get into it. Let me start with a simple question. If manifestation works, truly works, the way it is being sold, why isn't everyone living their best life right now? Think about that. Millions of people have watched The Secret. And if you haven't, go and watch it. The Secret. Millions of people have vision boards. Millions of people repeat affirmations every morning in the mirror. Millions of people are out there aligning with abundance, inverted commas. So why are people still in debt? Why are people still in painful relationships? Why are people still sick? Still struggling, still grinding with nothing to show for it? Why? The answer that the manifestation community usually will give is, you did not believe hard enough. You had limiting beliefs. You were not truly aligned, or you had resistance. And I want to pause here, because that is actually a really cruel answer. Even when it's delivered with crystals and soft lighting, it's cruel. What you're essentially telling someone is, your suffering is your fault because your thoughts weren't pure enough. So look at it this way. A single mother working 2 jobs did not manifest her way into poverty because she did not try hard enough to think positive thoughts. Or think of a person born into a country with no economic mobility, did not fail to manifest wealth because their vibration was off. In my opinion, this is where manifestation culture, at its worst, becomes a tool for bypassing real systemic, social, and circumstantial reality. It places all responsibility on the individual's inner world while ignoring the very real outer world that shapes people's lives. Now, I know that that's not how everyone means it. A lot of people who talk about manifestation are just talking about mindset, about focus, about putting energy into what you want. And you know what? That's fine. I can get behind that. But that's not manifestation in the mystical sense. That's just intention. It's discipline. And you know what? We should call it what it is. In my opinion, the word manifestation carries a specific implication. And that is that your thoughts and feelings have a supernatural power to attract physical reality. That the universe is this cosmic vending machine responding to your emotional frequency. And that is what I am not sold on. However, here's what I am sold on, and this is where it does get interesting. I want to offer you a different framework. One that I think actually holds up psychologically, spiritually, and practically. What most people call manifestation, I believe it's one of three things. Sometimes it's called preparation meeting opportunity. Sometimes it is called confirmation bias. And sometimes, and this is the one that really fascinates me, it's intuition. Now, I have spoken about this before. Let's take them all one at a time. Okay? When somebody says, I manifested my dream job, what often actually happens is they spent years building skills. They have put themselves in rooms where opportunities existed. They have stayed ready so that when the door opened, they could walk straight through it. That is not magic. That is the reward of sustained effort finally becoming visible. The manifestation narrative steals credit from the work. Human beings are pattern-seeking creatures. When we set an intention, when we put something on a vision board or repeat it as an affirmation, what we're actually doing is training our attention to notice it. The car you start researching is suddenly showing up everywhere on the road. The name you can't stop thinking about keeps coming up in conversations. The job title you want starts appearing in your newsfeed. Did the universe send those things? Or did your brain, now primed with the intention, start filtering for them in a world that had them all along? And then there is the third one. The one that I love, the one I think deserves the most respect, and that is intuition. Here is my honest belief. A lot of what people experience as manifestation is actually their intuition already knowing something their conscious mind hasn't caught up to yet. Your gut has been collecting data for years. It has been watching patterns, reading people, absorbing information from your environment below the level of conscious awareness. And sometimes, before something happens, you feel it. You know it. Not because you willed it into existence, but because some deeper part of you already read the signs. You got a feeling you were about to get that promotion, and you did. But were you manifesting, or were you picking up on your boss's energy? The way the company was moving, the feedback you were getting. Your intuition synthesized all of that and handed you a knowing. You felt strongly that this relationship was not right, and eventually it fell apart. You felt drawn to a certain city, and when you moved there, your life opened up. You just knew a friendship was going to matter before it even began. None of that is you creating reality with your mind. That is you reading reality with a depth that most people don't give themselves credit for. We are incredibly perceptive beings. And when that perception turns out to be accurate, we want a framework to explain it. Manifestation is the framework a lot of people land on. But I would argue it actually undersells what is happening, because it removes your discernment and replaces it with wishful thinking, when really your discernment is one of the most powerful tools you have. There's actually a spiritual cost to this, and I don't think we talk about it enough. Manifestation culture, at its core, is transactional. It turns the divine or the universe, or whatever you call it, into a vending machine. You put the coins into the vending machine. In this case, it will be your thoughts, the right rituals, the right affirmations. And out comes what you want. And if it doesn't come out, you must have used the wrong coins. But that is not how spiritual maturity actually works. Every serious spiritual tradition, and I don't care which one, eventually arrives at the same uncomfortable truth. The goal is not to get the universe to bend to your desires. The goal is to develop the wisdom to want the right things, the courage to pursue them faithfully, and the grace to release what was never yours to hold. That is not the same as manifesting a Porsche. There is a real difference between alignment and entitlement, between spiritual confidence and spiritual bypassing. Spiritual bypassing. This is a term therapists use. It's when we use spiritual concepts to avoid dealing with real pain, real work, real accountability. And manifestation culture can become the ultimate spiritual bypass. Instead of doing the inner hard work, like grief, healing, and honest self-examination, you just make a vision board. You say a higher vibe is coming. You decide the universe is working it out. And maybe it keeps you from falling apart in the short term, but it also keeps you from growing. Because here is the thing. Real spiritual growth requires discomfort. It requires sitting in the unknown without a promise of what's coming. It requires developing a trust. Not that you will get what you want, but that you can survive and evolve through what comes. There's also something worth saying about what manifestation culture does to our relationship with loss. When things don't work out, when that job falls through, or the relationship ends, the pregnancy doesn't happen, the dream dies, The manifestation framework has no good answer. It's either you failed to manifest properly, so there is shame attached to that, or you're told it just wasn't meant for you, or something better is coming, which becomes toxic positivity. Neither response honours the actual grief. Sometimes things just hurt. Sometimes the door closes and there's no better door right behind it. Well, not yet. Not obviously. Learning to be a whole, grounded person in that space, that is spiritual maturity. And no vision board will get you there. Okay, so if not manifestation, then what? You know, I'm not here to leave you empty-handed. I have genuine beliefs about what actually moves the needle in people's lives, spiritually and practically. And the interesting thing is, some of these overlap with things people call manifestation. The mechanism is just different. There is real power in knowing what you want. It's not because the universe hears your thoughts and arranges reality for you, but because clarity focuses your choices. Clarity of intention. When you know what you are aiming for, you make decisions differently. You say yes to different things, don't you? You notice different opportunities. So clarity is a practical tool. This will lead me into cultivating your intuition and not suppressing it. I find a lot of people do not honour their intuition. If I'm right that a lot of manifesting is actually intuition, then the real work is learning to hear that intuition more clearly and trust it more completely. So that means slowing down, getting quiet, reducing that noise that makes it hard to hear what you already know. Journaling, meditation, maybe even some therapy. Anything that helps you access that deeper knowing that lives below the surface of your daily mind. Just do the work. You know, faith without work is dead. That's ancient wisdom and it still applies today. You can want something with your whole heart. You can pray for it. You can believe in it. But at some point, your hands have to move. Your feet have to show up. The preparation has to happen so that when the opportunity arrives, you are ready. We need to develop resilience, not just expectation. The goal is to become the kind of person who can navigate whatever comes. You can take the win and stay humble, take the loss and stay standing. That kind of resilience is built in the difficult seasons and not the abundant ones. And the difficult seasons are the seasons where we are struggling, where we don't know where money is coming from, where we are down on our luck. That is when we learn. That is when we build resilience. And we need to stay open. Here's the one thing I'll concede to the manifestation crowd. An open mind towards possibility matters. People who walk through life expecting nothing good will often create self-fulfilling cycles of avoidance and missed opportunities. We know that. Sit in that vibration, that is what will happen. Woe is me. Believing good things are possible for you, that is worth cultivating. Just don't confuse hope for magic. Okay, so I want to leave you with something that I think is more interesting than manifestation. Think about this. What if the question isn't, how do I get what I want from the universe? But, who is the universe making me into through this season? By rewording that question, there is a shift in energy from transaction to transformation. When you stop trying to control outcomes and start paying attention to what each season is developing in you, something changes. The job you did not get becomes the humility you may need before you are ready for something bigger. The relationship that ended becomes the clarity about what you actually value. The health scare becomes the reset that changed your relationship with your body and your priorities. It's funny how when we look at things from a different perspective, what the outcome is. Now, all of the above that I just spoke about, none of that is you manifesting. That is life doing what life does. Forming you, if you are willing. Guys, your intuition is real. Your perception is powerful. Your effort is not wasted. But you are not a magician who conjures reality into your frequency. You are a human being, capable, perceptive, resilient, spiritual, navigating in a world that is far more complex and far more generous than any vending machine. So, if you have felt weird about the manifestation culture, like something didn't quite add up, I hope this gave you some language to that feeling. You are not being negative. You are not blocking your blessings by asking honest questions. Do you know what? In fact, I'd argue that the willingness to question the easy answers and sit with something more complex is a form of spiritual maturity. Not everything gets wrapped up in a vision board. Not everything comes down to your vibration. Some of it comes down to your wisdom, your patience, your willingness to do the work, and your capacity to stay open even when the outcomes are not what you expected. Let me say, trust your intuition. Do the work. Release the outcomes. That's not as catchy as I manifested it, but I think it's closer to the truth. Thanks for spending the time with me. If this resonated, please share it with someone who you think needs the honest conversation. And as always, stay grounded, stay curious, and keep it real. See you next time. Bye.
You have been listening to Linda, the Psychic Pinup. Linda is a psychic medium based on the New South Wales south coast of Australia. You can connect with her via her website, thepsychicpinup.com.au, or join her on her weekly live feeds on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, all under the same name, The Psychic Pinup. Thanks for listening.